Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Girls in Movement podcast, where we talk to founders and influencers from across the globe. We have two very exciting co-founders on the show today, and I'm really looking forward to chatting to them. I love brands that are tackling problems and stigmas, and these two ladies are doing exactly that. They've been featured in The Guardian, InStyle, Stylist, and a ton of other publications. They've created a brand which speaks directly to women with a stylish design to match. I actually came across this brand via Kamani Investments, which I know they were pitching to, and it's really unique. I think what I also love is the background of both these founders, and I'm keen to find out how they met and kickstarted this brand. So without further ado, I welcome Farah and Sarah, co-founders of HANX, onto the show. How are you both?
Hi, good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Good stuff. Now, Farah and Sarah are both in different locations. I mean, they're both in London, but on the opposite sides. That might as well be two completely different locations. So we have technology working at its best. So I'll direct questions to both of them. So let's start with yourself, Farah. What were you doing before HANX? Kind of after or before university? If you went to university, what were you doing before then?
Yeah, so I went to Durham University, studied finance, graduated, fell into typical finance job, and studied to become a chartered accountant. And then I was in investment banking for about just under 7 years. So my background is predominantly in finance, so very different to condoms.
Sure. Okay. And Sarah, what about yourself? What were you doing before HANX?
So, like Farah, I went to Durham University. We actually went to the same school as well, back in York. So we kind of go way back as friends. And then I studied medicine, so very different to Farah. And then went into kind of women's health, gynaecology, obstetrics, and sexual health. As my specialty within medicine. And worked kind of Newcastle, around in London, and Manchester in that specialty before kind of Farah and I decided that we needed to do something about the condom market.
Great. And so you both obviously met at university, I assume. How did this brand come about? Was it kind of an idea just sat at a table, or was it something that you've been kind of brewing up for a while?
No, it was quite an organic idea. So Sarah and I actually went to school together in York. So we went to university and school together. So we've been firm friends since childhood. And it was after an awkward bump in. I was working long hours and I needed to buy some condoms, and I bumped into my boss on lunch break. Right red box in my hands, and it was just because I was super busy and I didn't have time to get them any other time in the day. And Sarah was completely overworked from night shifts, as was I, and we had a very random Monday off, and we decided to go for lunch and had a day out, and we were just catching up, and I was telling her about this mortifying experience and how I shouldn't feel mortified in this day and age. I should feel empowered and I shouldn't be ashamed to take control of my sexual health, but yet there was a bright red box in my hand. That's how the discussion started, and Sarah had obviously seen a rise of it working clinic.
Yeah, so it was really authentic. Really, we hadn't decided that we would plan to do a business together. It just kind of happened, like Farah said, and because of my experience in sexual health clinics and seeing the rise of really difficult to treat STIs, and women in particular feeling really embarrassed to buy and use condoms, we started just chatting about all the things that could be changed, and got pretty excited about doing something about it. So that's how it all started over 2 years ago now.
Really cool. The best. And how long ago was that? Sorry, Sarah.
Yeah, it was over 2 years. It was end of 2015. But obviously we were both working full time back then. So we did all the kind of research behind the scenes, and looking into manufacturers, and kind of making sure there was a market for what we thought was a market for.
Right, nice. And I assume this is kind of both of your first times in the startup world, the startup journey. I mean, you're 2 years in now, but I still think even 2 years into a startup, it's still that kind of looking at investment, building a team, and building the brand even more, and keeping up with changes. I mean, how are you finding it? I'll aim this at you, Farah, first, but what do you think has been the biggest challenge for you?
Well, it's been really exciting, and it's very different to what we both used to do. And I think the most exciting but challenging parts is we're learning as we go along. So everything is new to us, and Sarah and I have become jack of all trades, from marketing to finance to manufacturing. So that's been exciting but challenging. But I guess one of the things that has been most challenging for me is I'm quite impatient. So when I'm working on something or a part of the business, and I think it should have been done yesterday, and it's having that patience, which has taken me a bit of time to learn and quite challenging, and come to terms with the fact that things take time and it's okay to make mistakes and you learn from them. So I guess they're the main challenges for me.
And what about yourself, Sarah?
Yeah, I think similar to Farah, I mean, it's really exciting journey. We only launched the company just under a year ago now. We're coming up to our first birthday, so we've really had lots of challenges along the way, and kind of making our own agendas and keep on top of everything, and trying to not stop working is another thing, getting that balance right, because you're always, Farah and I have had so many late nights on our laptops and weekends, and there's no time that really stops, like in a job where you're working for someone else. You kind of have designated off days, so I think getting that balance is important, and obviously really lucky to be able to do this with Farah, who's a great friend, and we have so many different kind of qualities and skills, so we complement each other really well. So yeah, I mean, lots of challenges like Farah. Again, I am impatient, and we like to get things done quickly, and if things we're like, why has it taken a week for something to happen? I think that's just adjusting to a different way of working, and so it's been an exciting journey so far.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think what I've always found is when you move from like not necessarily just a corporate world, but kind of even, I suppose, your medical background, you've got such a kind of a big team, so much resource like to your hand that you can kind of farm out loads of different things. But when you're kind of waiting for other people, because you're such a small team doing so much stuff, moving to start up is, your patient levels you have to balance it out a lot quicker than what you are within the group.
Absolutely,
the thing about that is you can run with your own ideas. You don't have to kind of consult anyone, and you can just go out with it and kind of see whether it is a success or fails quite quickly, and like move on to another avenue to explore, which is really good.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of trial and error and see what works, like you say, and what doesn't, and that's exciting with no restrictions. So yeah.
What did you learn about the market? Like, I suppose the condom market is something that I've never really spoken to anyone about, but like, was there anything that shocked you? Obviously, I know this is really directed at women, this brand, but what was it like kind of doing that research around this market?
Yeah, I mean, well, when we first thought about the idea, we were baffled that there was nothing like this on the market, without garish packaging or promoting a man's conquest or lots of gimmicky ingredients. So we obviously researched, and we were really surprised to find that over 40% of purchasers of condoms are actually women. So that's really, so that tells us that women do take control and buy condoms, but there's a clear gap in the market here, and we were even more perplexed to find that we are to date the only brand in Europe that are solely targeting women and subscriptions. We've got a few similar competitors in the US who are doing very well, and there's that growing trend of women taking control of all aspects of their lives. So why isn't this the one element that they're doing? So yeah, we were surprised by that stat for sure.
Yeah, and I think as well, we looked into what women in particular, but men as well, would want out of a new product, and the condom market hasn't really changed for decades. So things like vegan options, we were surprised that a lot of condoms actually use casein, which is an animal byproduct. So we were quite confident we didn't need animals near our product, and the fact that we can have a vegan alternative that's just as good was a no-brainer for us, and that's a market that's going up, and people are more conscious about that. They're conscious about having sustainable options, and yeah, like all the different aspects of our product was very responsive to what our audience wanted. So we don't smell of latex, we're ultra thin, and our packaging is discreet. So yeah, we've learned a lot about the market.
I bet. And do you feel like the stigma around this product is like around condoms in general is kind of worse in the UK, or do you think there's other countries who obviously that are worse? I mean, are people buying from your brand from other countries? Are you kind of exporting, etc.? Do you see this happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the UK we're slightly more prudish than people in the US, so there's definitely a shift in culture and attitude. I still think there's a taboo around, talking about sexual health and condoms. It's getting better, much better than it ever has been, but there's still a lot of work to do. And I guess in terms of appetite from our consumers, we get a lot. We're predominantly UK. Our consumers are predominantly UK based. We have a fair few in France and in Germany as well, and we do get a lot more requests for the US, and we haven't launched in the US yet, but we get a lot more from the US. So that kind of tells us that the attitudes are a bit more open.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, like Farah says, we've got lots of customers in Europe as well, but our main market is in the UK. But I think people are still not particularly confident about talking about condom use, and it's still like very British not to talk about that.
Definitely. And do you find when you're kind of pitching this idea to say maybe big retail buyers, do you find that there's any sort of like challenges with putting the brand out there and marketing a brand like this and having that conversation like over a kind of conference table? Do you find any people who are just a bit too prude?
Yeah, we do get pushback from certain retailers, and that's because sadly people still see sexual health and condoms as a taboo, and that's exactly what we're trying to change as HANX. We want women to think differently about sexual health.
Yes.
Everyone has sex at the end of the day, we get it, but it's about taking ownership of your sexual health and using protection, and that's why our branding is very clean and neutral, and we want to make it the norm for you to be able to go about your day to day in a department store and pick up HANX on your way out. So I think that is a challenge for us, but it's about educating and reinforcing our message, in that we're not garish and all about, we're not overtly sexual. We're just a brand that's empowering women. So yeah.
And how did the name HANX come about? Farah and I used to always say Hanky Panky. So again, this was like that lunch we had when we thought of the idea. We were like, what would we call it? And we were like, Hanky Panky, and then we just shortened it to HANX, and it's just stuck and it's worked. So it's quite fun.
That's really cool. And tell me about the plans for the rest of 2018 and kind of moving forward for next year. Are you looking to expand the team? Are you looking to kind of build the product out even more?
Yeah, where is 2018 gone? Like, it's
oh my God, I know.
Yeah, we've had a really exciting first year, and we've been very lucky because we've had some, so we've had support from press, and we've really grown our consumer base. I think for us, it's developing a condom proposition and developing that particular product range into different sizes and complementary products. And I think now that we know that we've got a secure market in the UK, we'd also like to develop our relations in other countries. So, like I said, we have some customers in France and Germany. So we would probably expand more European and focus our marketing efforts there as well. And I guess after the next 12 months, we've got some exciting products, but we just can't reveal them yet.
Nice. What's that? And to yourself, Farah, so I love asking all my guests this, so I'll start with yourself, Farah. So if you could give your younger self any advice, what would it be?
Go with your gut. I always say this, and I learned it from my mum. She always says, go with your gut. It's got your best interest at heart. And I think over the years, I haven't gone with my gut because I've been too scared. But there's clearly something in that. So yeah, definitely go with your gut and take a risk. If you don't do it now, when are you ever going to do it?
Exactly. And I think one of the biggest risks you can take is starting a business, leaving a full-time job. So yeah, hats off to both. And same question to yourself, Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, similar is not to worry about taking risks. If you're you plan things and you have a feeling that you want to try something different, or you've seen something that might work, or there's a market for something you've thought about. I think trying things and not being scared to do that. I think you regret things you haven't done, but you wouldn't regret taking risks. And things don't work out, you always learn from it, and pivot, and things change. But yeah, I think having a regret that you didn't do something that you had an idea and you were passionate about would be silly. So I think just don't be afraid to take that risk.
Perfect. Amazing. Thank you both so much for kind of coming onto the show and talking about the HANX's journey. I mean, we're really excited to see what happens in the next year or so, the new products and reaching out to new brands. HANX is a very exciting brand that you need to follow. So all social media links will be posted at the bottom of this podcast. We're live on iTunes and Spotify, so feel free to stream and follow the podcast on there. Thank you both so much.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.